is in the mind, and all you need is a little bit of confidence, and I think this ball is going to give him just that. Matt, we'll see what happens.
Well, I think you did a great job of building his confidence up out there, James. Let's see if it works then, as Luke Mossey starts from pole position alongside front row as well. We're all set to go here. Let's cross to our commentary box and join James Whittam and Jack Burnicle.
Luke Mossey on pole position. Can he finally win a British Superbike race? I was a bit put out talking to him last night. He reiterated to James Whittam on the grid that he'd quite like to follow Shaky for a couple of laps. I said, man, you don't need to follow him. Get out front and go for it. And see if you can break away that way would surely make a bit more sense. The man who broke away and won the first ever race on tarmac at Brands Hatch back in 1950, Harry Pearce on a 250 Triumph, is Colin Seaney, tells me, still with us at the age of 93. If you're watching, Harry, I hope you're enjoying the action. The track, of course, was a lot shorter back then, and he won it after a young upstart called John Surtees crashed clearways on the final lap trying to overtake him. So Harry Pearce still with us, and he knows what it's like to win at Brands Hatch. Let's check out the standings in the MC Insurance British Superbike Championship. We've got Shane Byrne on 181 points, 15 points clear of Leon Haslam. Jason O'Halloran for Honda Racing. Tyco BMW's Michael Laverty, Dan Linfoot and James Elliston are the men above the crucial red line in the top 6 for the showdown. Christian Idden has now dropped 2 points outside of that on Tyco BMW, along with Richard Cooper, Luke Mossey and Peter Hickman. 11th place for Tommy Bridewell, Glenn Irwin in 12th. Lee Jackson, excellent qualifying, needs the points to close the gap on Irwin. John Hopkins is back in action. Danny Buchan has already crashed along with several others this weekend. Let's hope he stays upright. And Yuichi Kianari, what can you say? He was absolutely scaldingly fast and led the Suzuka 8 hours for the first hour for Team Kageyama. And I've said to him, please bring that form back to the UK as soon as you can. Mossey, Byrne, Bridewell on the front row of the grid. Second row of the grid features Brock Parks, Glenn Irwin and Leon Haslam. The third row of the grid features both the Build-Based boys side by side with Jason O'Halloran, who fell, of course, during his Super Pole lap. And the fourth row of the grid has James Ellison alongside Michael Laverty and Peter Hickman. So heavy hitters right the way through the whole range of that grid. Behind them we've got Christian Idden, Danny Buchan and John Hopkins, and then Dan Linfoot, who was also the victim of a fall that prevented him getting into Super Pole. He's on row 6 alongside Kuba Smertz, whose engine let go, and James Rispoli. Number 46 in that beautiful sheen retro livery then is Tommy Bridewell on the front row. Quattro Plant Take Care Kawasaki. He says that he hasn't a plan, because if he makes a plan, it never goes to plan. Let's see what he's going to do with it. Pole position for the second time is Correa. Oh, shaky. Goes backwards, and that will help everybody else as they surge past him. And Luke Mossey doesn't have Shaky Byrne for company. He's going to have to do it on his own, because he launches down Paddock Hill Bend. He's got 4 or 5 bank lengths clear as he goes up to Druid. And do you know, James, he's going to wonder what the heck he's doing out there on his own. He'll wonder where Shaky is.
He will definitely wonder where Shaky is, and he'll be expecting Shaky showing him a wheeler coming past. But that was the worst I've ever seen Shane Byrne make. It was like he'd gone to sleep. He just didn't get it going at all.
So the leader there, and look at Leon Haslam. Well, his new team manager, Terry Reimer, said that one thing about Leon Haslam is he's a racer come Sunday. And already Haslam is up there right behind his rival Kawasaki. But look at the rate at which Shane Byrne has plugged his way through to the top 5.
I was just going to say, whoever else is a racer, Shane Byrne, he's definitely one. He's flying through them.
13 British Superbike race victories to his credit already here at Brands Hatch for Shane Byrne. He's lying in about 6th place at the moment.
Yep.
And the E-Payme Yamaha of Brock Parks has made a bright start. He's running 4th where he was on the grid, right on the back wheel there of Tommy Bridewell as they go through Sheen Curve. And into Sterling's left hand. Oh, Tommy Bridewell took a nudge there at Leon Haslam.
Yeah, it's one of them corners, Sterling's, where you've got to release the brakes and let the rider you're passing know you're there. It's got to be a bold move. You can't half have a go there. It's a softer move there. It'll cause a crash. You'll get your front wheel taken.
The first lap of 20 complete then. Luke Mossey rips across the line. And behind him, you've got Haslam, Bridewell, Parks. Byrne is 5th. He's just got the better of Jason O'Halloran. Cooper is 7th ahead of Irwin. Ellison hidden into the top 10. Jackson's made a poor start. He's back in 11th ahead of Michael Laverty.
It's Bridewell who's pushing, you know. Bridewell is looking every which way to try and get past Leon Haslam, and he can just see Mossey. We're going to look at the start again now. Watch this, right? Watch. He just doesn't release the clutch. It's like he didn't see the lights. That I watched his left hand and his fingers did not release the clutch. It wasn't a machine fault. That was Shaky just nodded off, I think.
So Shane Byrne then on the second lap of 20 with work to do here at Brands Hatch, and leading imperiously from the front is Luke Mossey. Second place there, the second and third place men, Haslam and Bridewell. And the Parks and Byrne are now locked together. Parks just lost a little bit of ground on these two during the past half lap, and that's what means that Shane Byrne has closed the gap. Also coming after the Australian are Halloran, Cooper and Irwin. Ellison ninth. Eden rounding out that top 10. This time Bridewell makes that move stick, and he obviously thinks, as a former British Superbike race winner, that he has got it in him to go after and chase down Luke Mossey.
I think he does. I had a feeling about Bridewell all weekend. He's just looked really strong on race tyres, never went out on new rubber, just always played the old tyres and got a set of it. Race pace was always good all weekend. I had a feeling about him. I did tell our colleague Charlie Hiscock, because he always puts a couple of £3 of a bet on, and he didn't. He went with Glenn Irwin.
Irwin currently is in 8th place.
Halloran. Halloran's siding right through on Shaky. Shaky's had a bad lap there.
So Halloran obviously feeling confident, and Shaky's actually got a lot of company because Cooper, Irwin and Eden are lined up behind him now.
Did you see how the rear of Halloran's Honda was just completely locked up, went skittling through? That was like a club racer's pass, that. Brilliant.
So look at this, pouring over the top of the hill out of Surtees, and then this massive Pilgrim's drop, which is far steeper than it looks on our television screen. Haslam, I thought, would respond quickly.
Stopped, though. He's run a little bit wide. Bridewell cuts for the inside and gets past him. Again, yeah, that's the kind of balance.
That balance is two aggressive lads together, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yep. That's new tarmac there. You know, all that Hawthorn into Westfield's brand new, and they said it's really, really grippy. Ripley at the mid-corner of the apex of Hawthorn's, but really grippy coming out. You can just bury the throttle and the thing will just grip.
And James, it hadn't occurred to me before, when you're going from shadow to sunlight like that, is that ever any disconcerting when you're ripping under the trees?
Not at all. No, they've all got dark visors on, and no, you just would not even notice that. I can't remember ever thinking it was an issue.
Haslam just waving a leg there as he thinks about making... Oh, and he gets awfully wide as he goes down Paddock Hill. Brock Parks, that distinctive style on the ePayme Yamaha, and his fellow Australian was coming on underneath him. There he goes, a move by O'Halloran on the Honda. That moves the Fireblade through in front of the Yamaha. Right behind Shaky, though, is his teammate, Glenn Irwin.
Yeah, Glenn Irwin, he's been quick all weekend. Good race pace. I just feel that Glenn, compared to some... that's Kuba Smertz.
Oh, Kuba Smertz, who had that the valve drop in the BMW, had a new engine fitted, and they were feeling fairly confident about his race pace. He was feeling happy about things, but unfortunately he's fallen.
Yeah, he's walking back from Druids now.
And that's Shaky Byrne making a move through Hawthorns. That takes care of Brock Parks. And Glenn Irwin now, 32, has got number 2 right there behind him. And Jason O'Halloran, Shaky needed to move through because Jason's moving on. And he's in 4th place now and hunting down Leon Haslam in 3rd. 4th lap of 20 here at Brands Hatch, the full-on Grand Prix circuit. This is the circuit on which Ayrton Senna won his first ever car race, on which Nigel Mansell won his first ever Grand Prix. It's steeped in 4-wheeled and 2-wheeled history. Yeah, we're making more of it right here.
One of the best circuits in the country to ride around, very similar to Cadwell Park and to Alton Park. Perhaps a bit more open than both of those circuits, but nevertheless brilliant, typically British. Ups, downs, off camber, on camber. It's like nobody designed it. It's like it just grew here.
Dan Linfoot there is pressing through to try and get the better of Jackson just ahead of him. Look, there's Jackson, number 14, number 4, Linfoot right behind him, and then Laverty. Michael Laverty makes his move underneath Linfoot. Surprised Linfoot, I think, because these guys are fighting for 13th place. Yeah. This is how competitive this is. Peter Hickman trying to make a move there as well. He's involved in that crew, and just ahead of them, locked together, Christian Iden and James Ellison.
Yeah, and those are round winners we're talking about.
plummeting downhill. That's Glenn Irwin pushing through ahead of Brock Parks. So the ePay Me Yamaha now has got nudged back to 7th place after that hot start. Remember, Brock Parks has finished 3 times runner-up in 2009 to Leon Camier as a wild card for Paul Bird Kawasaki here at Brands Hatch. He's got quite a bit of history himself around this track.
Now then, Bridewell's last lap, he's now sneaked into the 25s, and his lap was just the same as Luke Moss's in the lead. Bridewell's good round here.
Mossy consistently 25.8. He's looking, his best lap is a 25.7, and he's running consistent 25.8. So that's Brock Parks just astern there of Glenn Irwin's Panigale. And as they start the 6th lap, 1/4 race distance, there's Lee Jackson moving away now from Dan Linfoot and Michael Laverty and moving in towards clawing back the gap to Christian Iden and James Ellison. Iden, incidentally, did have the pin taken out of his finger, James, after chopping the end of his finger off. The pin, he went to hospital. He had the sense to go to the hospital to get it out. I think that's Danny Buchan.
It is, yeah, that's a Panigale.
Danny, of course, has been off already this weekend.
What happens? This will be a front end, I think. There he goes. Yeah, started with the front. Yeah, typical Druids incident. That you're such a lean angle there. Such a lean angle.
When you're 6'3", that looks such a comfortable fall, doesn't it? Because you're already there at ground level.
It probably was quite a comfortable fall, that one, to be honest.
Shane Byrne now has pulled himself back onto the rear wheel of Jason O'Halloran. The front 3 ahead of them, Mossy, Bridewell, Haslam, and they're locked together now. That is becoming a battle for 3rd place. O'Halloran had managed to pull clear, but you're never clear of Shane Byrne. He's always going to come back and get his teeth into you if he can.
That battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th, Haslam, O'Halloran and Byrne is now quicker than the pair in front, Bridewell and Mossy, albeit just.
So Luke Mossy holding a consistent pace at the front. He needn't have worried about not being able to hold station at the front. He's looking super consistent.
And I tell you what, he's dropped half a second this last lap because Bridewell is back to within about half a second. It's actually less than half a second Mossy to Bridewell now.
That was way his slowest lap. He suddenly was half a second slower himself on that lap. So something happened to Luke Mossy. Something went slightly astray on that lap. These 2 guys have now closed in.
2 different mindsets now. Mossy's thinking, oh, can't make any more mistakes, and that makes you more likely to make a mistake. Bridewell's thinking, oh, hey up. I'm on him. I'm doing all right, yeah.
Do you know, Pete Exton's only slight concern, and he just says it's a slight concern about Luke Mossy, is Luke he's no great trainer. He's such a natural talent. He doesn't put a great deal into that side of it. But Pete says, how can I complain when he snatches 4th place from Leon Haslam on the last lap at Thruxton?
I honestly think that in a lot of ways, the fitter you are, the better you are in any sport. You get hurt, you break your collarbone, you're going to get better, quicker if you're fitter. However, you don't need to be a sort of finely honed athlete for these. You need to do a certain amount of training, and you need to be able to do, what, an hour's racing, or just under BSB level, without getting tired and without getting fatigued or cramped. And that's how you need to be. You don't need to be one of these people who can run for 250 miles across a desert.
And he doesn't look like a guy, number 12, Luke Mossy, who takes a lot out of himself. His racing looks relaxed.
Exactly, yeah. If you're a natural rider, it is easier for you.
So Mossy still holds a 0.247 of a second advantage over that retro-styled Suzuki of Tommy Bridewell. As they, again, he was just that little bit slow. We've had a faller. Is that Philip Backlund?
Backlund, I think.
I think it might be the Swede, Philip Backlund, on the other Quattro plant bike who's gone down.
Yeah, that's clearway, so that'll be a fairly quick crash. That's 80 mile an hour plus, is that?
And now the front 3 have really closed up together with Jason O'Halloran, remember, having achieved his maiden victory in British... what am I talking about? Tommy Bridewell closing the gap, but Leon Haslam pressing hard in 3rd place again. Haslam, despite the problems they're having with power surge on that Kawasaki, is producing he's just producing a race performance.
And red flag.
The safety car has come out. Safety car has come out.
There's Backlund's back. Yeah, that's the safety car's out there for him to rebuild the safety fence.
Martin Halsell, of course, will be a bit. Look at this. There's tension everywhere. That's the Bournemouth Kawasaki camp, and Pete Exton's there in the middle. The doctors checking out Philip Backlund, who is, of course, their other rider who's caused that safety car.
Medical and marshal backup at BSB, absolutely second to none. You're in good hands. have a look. Yeah, and that's you can just see. Do you know if that safety fence hasn't have been there, how heavy would he have gone into what is essentially dirt-filled tyres? They hurt. I've hit tyres at that speed, and it hurts, and it breaks your bones. And that's. I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The one of the things about BSB is the fact that the riders' safety is at the front of the minds of the organisers. Really good that.
When someone falls like that and you get that side on view, there is an illustration of how fast they're going.
Do you know where it looks fastest from?
Where you are.
Where you're going on the track at 80 mile an hour heading towards one of them fences. It doesn't have to feel quick, does it?
And there's nowhere else you've got to go, is there? You're going straight towards them.
That's like pulling a fat bloke's underpants up, that look. Not that I've had any experience. I know what it sounds like.
You do sound like you're quite practiced in the art. Mossy, Bridewell, Haslam, O'Halloran, Byrne, Irwin, they're all closing up, of course, in formation. Parks, Cooper, Ellison, Jackson now ahead of Linfoot and Idden. Lee Jackson's making progress, you know. He threatened, he made a sluggish start, but he's picked off Dan Linfoot and Christian Idden, and he's definitely he's into that top 10. And Lee Bob, he wants to go about his plumbing business tomorrow there on the in a happy frame of mind. He works for a family friend, incidentally, who gives him the time off he needs to race. But because they do new build, he hasn't got any kind of dirty stuff to do. It's fitting new radiators and wash basins and things to new houses.
Not a proper plumber. A proper plumber has his hand up a dirty old soil stack. The car's in. Right, there's no overtaking.
Here we go.
No overtaking till he get to the start and finish line.
And Luke's gone for it straight away. He's just hit the throttle the moment he was coming through Clark Curve to see if he could just open up a little bit of a gap. And straight away, O'Halloran made the jump, I think, on Shaky Byrne and nabbed a place back from the Be-Wiser Ducati.
No,
or perhaps he didn't. I beg your pardon.
No.
It might have been O'Halloran who was nipped by Irwin. Someone got a good jump at that point. No, they're still in the same order.
Neither of those scenarios was the case, Jack. Sorry.
It was a pure invention on my part.
The safety car has played into people's hands, most notably
Bridewell. These chops to the front straight away.
Well, I think that was going to happen anyway. You know, he got on the back wheel of Mossy. It's what Mossy's got left now. That's the question.
It certainly helped, like the Shaky Byrne and those guys just off the front three.
Yes,
that gap has closed a bit, and of course Haslam's going to be having a bite. You know he'll have a snap. You've got to watch the podium credits.
You've got to watch it there now. Bridewell's running big, extravagant, fast mid-corner lines now, and that just leaves you open if somebody's behind you. Just leaves you open to a little bit of a block pass.
It depends if they can get close enough.
Exactly,
because Tommy's opening up that gap.
And
I
think
doing everything he can to.
Yeah, that's the plan. You get to the front, you have a couple of laps trying to put a real clean lap together, get a bit of a gap. If you can't, then you're going to plan B or plan C.
And as they scorch under out into clearways and through this massive right-hander at Clark's, those front three then, Bridewell, Mossy, Haslam. This is the first time Bridewell has led across the stripe to complete half distance. 10 laps complete. Haslam gets underneath the opposition Kawasaki of Quattro Plant.
Wide.
And JG Speedfit then moved through into second place. Shane Byrne, already 13 times a British Superbike winner here at Brands Hatch, where he won his first ever race 2 decades ago, is lingering ominously there in fourth.
The word is ominous. You just get the feeling that the man most likely to win this now is Shane Byrne in fourth.
He's brutal. He really scalded Luke Mossy there, but he ran wide himself. Luke tries to pick his way up the inside, but the drive of the Panigale brings him round the outside towards Pilgrim's Drop, and I think Shaky was apologising then.
He was either apologising or saying sit behind me. He knew he went into Surtees a little bit wide, therefore he'd have been a bit slowed out and maybe expected Mossy to level with him.
So there is Luke Mossy, the early leader, the pole setter. Till half distance, he'd managed to hold on pretty strongly to that lead. Now the bike's bucking and weaving a bit underneath him, and he's got O'Halloran and Glenn Irwin for company. You know what I liked about the last lap? You called the start and finish line the stripe. Get you, that's American, that is. Well, I won't tell you who I picked it up from. I've resisted using it for several seasons, but it finally slipped out. Have you got your Stars and Stripes vest on under there, or what? Now, Glenn Irwin is really, well, you've got to say, Irwin's, that second race at Thruxton has been a breakthrough race for Glenn Irwin, because the 26-year-old Irish lad is now really pressing on behind Jason O'Halloran and looking very, very confident in that top 6.
Yeah, Jason's now looking for a way past. I won't say struggling, but Luke's definitely dropped a little bit of pace, whether that's a tyre thing.
He's the first of the leaders in the 127s. There's no one else down to Jack Kennedy in 15th place in the 127s. So something's gone up with Luke.
Tyre thing.
Oh, is that Glenn Irwin?
That's Irwin, yeah.
Irwin, who you were saying, James, has stopped falling off after his Super Sport days. He was more liable to, but he hasn't been doing it this year. That's a rare mistake.
At this level, at this pace, it is. You can fall off, and you do fall off. And if you don't fall off, at least occasionally, you're not trying hard enough. That's the thing they say.
In the background then, Brock Parks on the E-Pay Me Yamaha. He had the thing lit up and sideways coming out of Hawthorns onto the Derek Minter straight. Fabulous form for the Australian. There's his fellow Australian ahead of him, Jason O'Halloran. At the moment, Leon Haslam is the man who's hounding the leader, Tommy Bridewell. So Bridewell there on that retro red and white Halsall Bennett Suzuki just leads the way. Right behind him, the distinctive green Kawasaki of Leon Haslam. And then the bright yellow helmet and the red of, the classic Italian red of the Ducati. And this is Haslam going for the lead. And on the 13th lap of 20, he runs wide.
But did you see that? Bridewell set up for that repass immediately as soon, because you know if somebody comes past you, you work out how much quicker they're going than you. Can they make the corner at that pace? And then you just set up for getting them back when you're fairly certain they're going to run wide at that point.
Luke Mossey's just set almost his fastest lap with a 125.8, so he's right there with them. Perhaps he does need a target man. Look, he's latched on. O'Halloran's behind him, then there's a gap back to Brock Parks, and Parks has a bit of air, and Richard Cooper, who we haven't really mentioned, having a good ride for Build Base in 7th. Ellison is now through to 8th. Jackson is in 9th. Linfoot 10th. Idden and Laverty, and Kennedy.
That's Kennedy.
Oh, Jack, what are you doing? Jack Kennedy, the Dublin lad, has crashed on the WD-40
and you know, when
Kawasaki.
Sometimes when you get bad seasons, you just can't do any right, and he's just having a nightmare at the minute. Lots of talent has Jack, we know that, he's very quick, but when things aren't going your way, just, you know, if he wasn't having bad luck at the minute, he won't be having any.
We've got, at the back end of the points, we've got Kennedy. Kennedy's exited 14th, so that means McConnell moves 14th. Jake Dixon comes into the points. Luke Mossey has set the fastest lap. He could be on pole again yet. Shaky Byrne and Leon Haslam would be the front row of the grid at the present time in this race, and then O'Halloran, Bridewell and Ellison would be on the second row of the grid. So Ellison in 8th is going quick.
Mossey's the fastest man on track the last lap as well. That's the last 2 laps he's been the fastest man on track.
Can you just stand up and explain this, please, Luke? We'll have to have a word with him afterwards. Excuse me, son. Come on. Just tell us what's going on. Peeling through Surtees, and then the sharp rise over the top, and a variety of lines through a surprising, even though it's quite feels quite narrow because of the uphill exit, and then the massive plunge down Pilgrim's Drop up Hawthorne Hill. Named, of course, after the absolutely legendary Mike Hawthorne, who used to race in a Dicky Ball. He won the first ever Formula 1 World Championship by an Englishman, 1958, in a Ferrari.
With a Dicky
How's
Ball.
about that? A man with a Dicky Ball who used to race in his Dicky Ball every time he went out in a car.
Now, Leon Haslam's looking for a way now. And he can probably feel a bit of pressure from Shane Byrne. And do you know, especially on the slower corners, Druids, etc., you will hear that Panigale behind you. It booms. It's like having a bass drum whacking behind you.
That's right. That's Leon's mentioned that you certainly know when Shaky's in the district.
Yep.
So as they cross the line this time, Haslam will have a look underneath Bridewell, and he does retake the lead. But again runs well right, and Shaky surely will prod his way through this time. And Haslam makes a big error, because the one thing he really didn't need was to Shaky to get ahead of him. I think it'll be really difficult to get back past the Ducati. He's got this problem with James, where he says he's giving it 5% or 10% drop, and it gives him 20%, and it pulls him offline. It gives a surge of power that shoves him where he doesn't want to be on the track.
Yeah,
and you can try to see that problem happening.
You can, but what I can't understand is these things can be remapped, and it's almost like, and he's out the seat there, and that's what it would do. You know, you open the throttle a bit, you get a lot of power. These things, if you get, 50 or 60 horsepower boost when you don't need it, that's a lot of power when you're on the side of the tyre.
So this is now Tommy Bridewell fending off Shane Byrne, and those two moments have cost number 91, Leon Haslam, a lot of time. So Haslam, number 91, adopted that number because it was the only one he could have in Grand Prix racing that was anywhere near his dad's famous number 19.
And this is a long race now for Tommy Bridewell. He'll know who's behind him. He'll be able to hear that Panigale behind him now. It's not so much the exhaust note you hear, it's the induction roar. It's the boom, the low frequency boom from the airbox every time it sucks a bit of air in.
And Shaky Byrne, after making possibly the worst start he's ever inflicted on himself, is now right back in a position to attack Tommy Bridewell. He completes the 15th lap, three-quarter race distance. Bridewell leads the way on that beautiful GSXR 1000. Second place, Shaky Byrne on the BYD Ducati.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the Halsall Bennett Suzuki team will be thinking, you know, oh, he's run wide, that's Tommy, that's let... Whoa! Tommy's not giving up so easy, I don't think.
If I make a mistake, I'll fend you off.
I think a little patch of that nice Texaco Heron colour scheme will have just been wiped off there, and the front wheel is shaking his Panigale.
And of course, it's given Haslam a chance to just bridge that gap a bit. A moment like that, and suddenly Haslam has JG Speedfit Kawasaki. He's right back with him, but here comes Byrne, making a clean move at Hawthorns. And Tommy Bridewell looking to tuck back underneath, but Shaky will well know that he's there and protects it easily into Westfield.
Well, I mean, this might be a bit simple, but the Suzuki does seem better now it's in proper traditional colours. I've always said this. Suzukis are quicker in these colours. Yamahas are always quicker in speed block.
Well, I can't see why it should only be this. Surely, would Martin Halsall consider continuing this colour scheme? We like it, Martin. Keep it. Mind you, has it got Bennett's written on it? That's rather essential.
I mean, that's it. I mean, yeah, bikes go with the colour scheme of the major sponsor now, and you can see that. But, you know, if a bike's beautiful, it's got the name of the sponsor on, why not, I think?
And this is the point at which these guys can't let Shaky off the leash, James. They've somehow got to stick with him to keep him working hard, haven't they? And
yeah, definitely.
If he gets a few bike lengths, he could be gone.
I just wonder if the mindset is going to be, do you know what, we knew Shaky was going to be quick. I haven't got the pace to keep up with him. I don't think so. I mean, Tom will have a go. He always says that. He'll get stuck in. But this was what was expected. He's just made it a little bit hard for himself by Shane Byrne over the weekend.
Oh, and that was Mossy having a massive moment there that cost him a lot of time and put him almost back with Jason O'Halloran, and he just kicked on him going into Surtees. Here comes Haslam. Okay, Leon. Oh, Leon Haslam, who went into Grand Prix at an absurdly young age, so has been racing at the top level since he was a 15-year-old.
Yeah, 125s, then 250 GPs, and then 500s. He never rode a four-cylinder 500, which were the winning bikes at the time. He rode a customer V-twin 500 Honda that were not really competitive at the front, but it certainly got him a lot of experience.
Disappearing under the bridge then to complete the 17th of 20 laps. It'll be 3 laps to go. And Leon Haslam back through to second place. Bridewell is squeezed back to third, and it's just given that move, that those two having a go at each other, of course, means that Shaky Byrne, number 67, has that little bit of an advantage. He had 0.3 of a second as they cross the line, and as they come up the hill. O'Halloran, Parks, Jackson, Cooper, Linford, Idden still the top 10. Ellison's dropped out of the top 10 now, just in front of Hickman. Billy McConnell, number 3 on the FS3 Kawasaki, now is into 13th place. Michael Laverty has dropped to 14th. Jake Dixon on the Briggs Equipment BMW. I've got it right. Jake, you're on the Briggs Equipment BMW, is in the points in 15th ahead of John Hopkins and Alistair Seeley. We're on the 18th lap of 20, and these three locked together. And this is, well, they've got to somehow attack Shaky, but Shaky's unlikely to make mistakes, you would think.
Yeah, that's the way I'd see it. Yeah, he doesn't generally make mistakes. He has done, but not when he's been as dominant as he has all weekend here at Brands. But you just never know. He's got two men behind him who, if given even half an opportunity, will have a bit of a lash.
I was going to say, did you see the line that Leon took in on the entrance to Stirling's? Then he was just thinking, I could just wheedle my way underneath him here.
Yeah, that's what prompted the comment, actually, yeah. And that's what it'll be.
So crossing the line for the penultimate time, on to the penultimate lap of this 20-lap scrap. Brock Park's being closed down by Lee Jackson, has got past Richard Cooper in the last couple of laps, and he's ahead of he's towing Linfoot with him, but he has now got Brock Parks in his sights. So Jackson, who remember finished 5th and 6th here in his rookie season in the last round of 2015, could just sneak another top 6.
Now Bridewell and Haslam are just thinking, go on, make a mistake. It is easy to make a mistake, really, especially when you've got pressure. Shane will know he's got pressure. He'll be trying to just hit his marks, be clean, not make a mistake. And if he does that, then it is going to be difficult for the other two guys to have a go at this.
The Kawasaki teams did said that Ducati's got so good, they no longer have that kind of straight line speed advantage that they had.
Always a four-cylinder has had the speed advantage on the straights, especially top end over a Ducati. That's always been the case. Not so now. The Panigale is really short stroke. It revs to oblivion, and that's where it makes the power, the revs.
Ooh, and this is fascinating because Leon's looking around now. He's
maybe
a man with
sniff of this.
He is a man with 17 years of kind of Grand Prix World Superbike and British Superbike experience. This is he's going to try something, surely.
Never mind that 32 years living with Ron. that's got to be more dangerous.
You know, one of his problems is exiting clearways and Clarks. He doesn't really live with the Ducati onto the straight.
He doesn't. He's going to have to get past him before that if he's going to have a go. And this is it. He's not going to get many more opportunities, and that was a good one. And he wasn't close enough because of his slightly slower speed out of clearways.
And it takes all that time, doesn't it, for the next 400 or 500 yards
to nip it all back. Yeah.
Is it the one? Well, Sterling's, he's been looking at the possibility of that early apex at Sterling's, but he has to stay close to the Ducati and to Lennon.
Oh, and now Bridewell! No!
Bridewell's chucking away on the final lap. The Sheen replica coated Halsell. Bennett Suzuki was looking so good in 3rd place, and Tommy's lost the front. Oh, wow, and
Tommy.
that was a good ride up until that point. And that means that Luke Mossey will re-inherit that 3rd place. And while we've been away, Shaky has put down the hammer on the final lap, and he's made sure that Leon Haslam cannot be close enough to him to try and steal something at Sterling's. So Shaky Byrne, this looks likely at this point to be the 14th ever British Superbike race victory for the 4-time British Superbike champion on the B-Wiser Ducati Panigale. He comes cutting through in the sunshine. What a race that is. Beautifully calculated, except for a rubbish start. He wins again at Brands Hatch to extend his lead in the championship over Leon Haslam in 2nd place. Luke Mossey 3rd, O'Halloran 4th, and that was Lee Jackson nipping ahead of Brock Parks on the final lap. He grabs 5th place in the end. Parks 6th. Linfoot, Cooper, Idden and Ellison round out the top 10. There's Ron Haslam and the gang in JG Speedfit, of course, with new manager, team manager Terry Reimer, and there's a very satisfied Paul Paunch-Bird just cruising back towards his garage. Number 67, Paul Bird's man who's been winning for him for a very long time. They won their first championship together with Ducati in 2003. And, of course, they get a lot of very direct input from the Ducati factory near Bologna.
They do, although the rules are very, very different in BSB. They still get their help. Ducati, as a factory, still see the value in BSB. They know it's an important championship for them.
And there's the fastest lap. Luke Mossey, 125.753. And he will put himself back on pole position for race 2. I'm sure he can't expect Shaky Byrne to gift him such a start, but he's, well, it's another rostrum finish and more rostrum podium points for the young man.
Yuichi Kinare, the sole finishing retro-coloured Suzuki. Feels so sorry for Tommy Bridewell. Did everything right there except for that little slide off on the front, and the punishment just didn't fit the crime. Yeah, it's going in, still carrying a bit of brakes. Quite bumpy going in there, look, and that's just unlucky.
So Tommy Bridewell skates out of a certain 3rd place, and Shaky Byrne takes the win. Byrne waves to this enormous crowd here that are enjoying the baking sun. In the background, Dan Linfoot congratulates Lee Jackson. Linfoot managed to make 7th place, just behind Brock Parks. Jackson nipped past the Pay Me Yamaha to 5th place, but for Parks and for Tommy Hill, 6th place as a result.
You told me that we overlook Jackson sometimes, and we have. Go on you go.
Shane Byrne wins for BYD Ducati. Leon Haslam, JG Speedfit 2nd. Luke Mossey, Quattroclant Tech Care Kawasaki in 3rd. O'Halloran's Honda in 4th place. Lee Jackson came from a long way back. He started really badly and came from a long way back to snatch 5th on the last lap from Brock Parks. Dan Linfoot a whisker behind Parks. Richard Cooper in 8th place. Christian Idden plugs away with that awfully injured finger and gets 9th ahead of James Ellison. Peter Hickman in 11th. Billy McConnell in the points. The Briggs Equipment BMW of Jake Dixon ahead of Michael Laverty and John Hopkins on the 2nd Pay Me Yamaha. All of those are point scorers. Seeley, Jessup, Rispoli, Chianari and Josh Hook miss out. And the championship standings mean that Shane Byrne has extended his advantage to 20 points over Leon Haslam. O'Halloran on 159. Laverty and Dan Linfoot maintain their standing in the top 6, as does James Ellison. Idden 1 point behind Ellison and level with Richard Cooper. Luke Mossey is right in the fray now, just a point further back in that dash for the top 6. Outside the top page there, top 10, Tommy Bridewell unlucky to remain on 85. Glenn Irwin on 55, level with the improving Lee Jackson.
Yeah, I think all of those top 10 riders will have an eye on the showdown, won't they now? But not more so than Luke Mossey, who moves into serious contention with this 3rd place. We shall be speaking to him, Leon Haslam, and the race 1 winner, Shane Byrne, when we come back from the break.